Du lyssnar på Rise and Shine med Shirin, en podd där jag dyker ner i mina gästers liv, högt och lågt. Sen sprinklar jag allt med lite hälsa. Mitt favoritämne. Bästa kombon om du frågar mig. Det bjuds på både inspiration, empati, glädje, energi, igenkänning och ibland även sorg och frustration. Men nu har det blivit dags att presentera både dagens gäst och min fina partner. Häng med! Podden sponsras av Hormonology, företaget som stöttar kvinnohälsa med information, produkter och utbildning och som riktar sig till alla kvinnor som vill lära sig mer om hur deras kroppar fungerar samt om menscykeln eller hormonell obalans. Gå in på hormonology.se. Carly Shankman, you are a wellness-focused entrepreneur, a holistic health coach, yoga teacher, a juice enthusiast with your own company, Alchemy Juice, in Austin, Texas. A wife and a mother on a mission to contribute to a happier and healthier world. And you're also an integrative cancer thriver, a detox advocate that we're going to talk a lot about. You shared your story on your social media, how you healed from thyroid cancer with integrative health practice. While doing so, you started the company Alchemy Juice, a local juice delivery company in Austin, Texas. I am so amazed about your story and I want to hear everything about it. And of course, I'm curious about your morning routines. Very, very welcome to my podcast, Rise and Shine with Shirin.
Thank you. Thank you so much for having me. This is my first time doing a podcast with someone in Sweden. So I'm very
Yeah, because actually, it was my daughter. She was looking through her reels or Instagram and she went like, Mom, this woman, she is so amazing. It would be so cool if you had her on your show. And I emailed you right away. And I think you answered me within 10 minutes. Like, yeah, of course I want to share my story. So here we are.
Yes,
and, thanks for being here. So you're in Austin, Texas. I'm in Stockholm, Sweden, and most of my guests are Swedish, but I have interviewed a few in the States and India and Denmark and all over. So we are 7 hours apart. It's 11 o'clock in the morning where you are, and 6 o'clock in the evening here.
The
so wonderful
internet. Thank you to technology.
Yeah, thank you. So, Carly, how are you today? And where are you located? Maybe you're not in Austin, Texas for the moment. I don't know.
Yeah. So today I'm amazing. I'm thriving. I'm cancer-free. I'm pregnant with my third son.
Oh my God. I didn't know that.
Yeah. I'm 20 weeks pregnant, and we actually just moved on to 5 acres out in the Texas Hill Country, which has been a long-term dream of mine. We're doing kind of the homesteading, homeschooling, back to nature or organic life here and raising our boys that way. So
wow.
I was just sitting outside with my husband right before I popped on this podcast, sitting out in the sun, and I was just like giving so many thanks. We're actually going to call the name of our property Gratitude Ranch. I dreamed this dream for years, and I know we're going to talk a lot about my cancer journey and going to the depths of the darkness and the things that I had to face in myself, I believe is what allowed me to relish in living in the light now. We live in this dualistic world, and a lot of what I've experienced in my own life and I share with other people is that to the depths of the darkness we go is to the height of the light. And we, no deal with the hard, but when we greet that part of ourselves, it gives us access to something on the other side. So doing well, I'm great. And I am in the Texas Hill Country, right outside, about 45 minutes outside of Austin, Texas.
Wow. You look amazing. And congratulations on the third pregnancy. Wow. And I know you love spending time cooking in your kitchen, exploring with your husband and your 2 sons, Cruz and Cash. Really cool names, by the way. And you love traveling to beautiful places. So what is the coolest place you have ever traveled to?
Oh my gosh. Well, my husband and I did a lot of travel before the boys came. I've gone all over the world. One of my favorite places is India. I
Mm.
absolutely love India. I love the culture. I love the food. I could live off Indian food. We also really love British Columbia, Canada, and New Zealand for obviously the nature in both places.
Mm.
But we also rented, we didn't rent, we invested in an Airstream. Do you know what the Airstream? It's like the silver bullet. It's
Yeah, yeah,
kind
yeah,
of
yeah, yeah.
yeah, okay.
I love
You
it.
can it has a kitchen. So we've been doing those adventures with our kids. So over Thanksgiving, we went and we parked literally right on the beach in Florida, where we opened up the back of the Airstream and it's just sand and ocean. And my kids, like every day, they're like, when are we going back to the beach? So that was one
Aw.
of the spectacular places that we had ever gone as a family and parked the Airstream and like really lived in that. Like you couldn't even get a house that close to the ocean, you know? So it was really a special experience.
So an Airstream in Swedish would be en husbil, but it's so much cooler. It's a silver colored. It looks really cool.
Okay, good. I
Yeah.
say that, but yeah.
Okay. So three boys, and so you did a lot of travel before the boys. And what did you work with? Like, because you're a health expert doing all kinds of stuff.
Mhm. So so I've been a health coach for about 12 years. So
Hmm.
what that means is that I've worked one-on-one with clients. I've designed like online wellness courses so that people who are just getting started of how do I reduce toxins in my home? How do I eat better? I really walk them through the beginning stages of getting healthier. I
Mm.
also did some digital marketing during that time. So really combining my passions for marketing and using the internet to reach people with my passions for health. And it was one of the things that was most shocking about a cancer diagnosis. I mean, I know a cancer diagnosis is shocking for anybody who receives it, but I was already a health coach. I was
Yeah.
a yoga teacher. I was the one who was teaching other people about how to live healthfully. And so there was a level of shame and guilt around receiving
Yeah.
that diagnosis. And I remember saying, okay, Carly, you're at a fork in the road. You can either hide in shame and guilt and not tell anybody this and just deal with it quietly, or you can rip off the band-aid and tell your story and call in support from your community and be willing to be a student and learn and grow. Because if I knew everything, maybe I wouldn't have been diagnosed. Maybe I'm missing information. And
Mm.
what I along the way was that my definition of health was exercise and eating well.
Yeah.
And I wasn't as focused on deep cellular detoxification. And that was really the gift that my cancer journey gave me, was understanding that we come into this world whole, perfect, and complete. And then we come into
Mm.
toxins from our environment, from the air that we breathe, the water we drink, the soil, the food, the plastics, all of it. And
Yeah.
that's not said to scare anyone. It's just the truth of living in a modern world. But then it's our responsibility to invite in detoxification practices. And that was when it was so interesting, because I was navigating a cancer diagnosis, but I was sharing it on my Instagram platform. My Instagram is Carly Loves Kale. And my community was watching me get healthier and
Mm.
healthier
Wow.
in and have more vibrancy and vitality. And the whole paradigm of disease and sickness, people were like, what's happening? And I
Mm.
even was, what's happening? And it was because I was really doing the deep healing work. And
Yeah.
that's a lot of what I teach and talk about today, is really detoxification.
Wow. But if we
Hmm.
back up a little bit, what were your symptoms and how old were you then? Like,
Okay.
what was the first sign?
Great question. So at the time, I was 33 years old when I was first diagnosed. And like I said, my husband Ross and I love to travel. So we had our first sun cruise in the mountains of Montana. We were staying at an Airbnb. I did a
How
home birth.
romantic. Yeah.
Yeah. I remember writing to the Airbnb host, like, do you mind if I do a home birth? And she was like, I've been asked that question.
Well,
She said yes, and it
okay.
went great. But when Cruz was 3 months old, we moved to Mexico. And that was our plan. We were going to live in Mexico and just kind of be there for a while. And I was 4 months postpartum, and I was still feeling like I wasn't feeling well. And I was like, I don't think this is just postpartum. And so I had some hair falling out. I was fatigued, weight gain. It's just like, I just wasn't even 4 months postpartum, like coming back to myself at all. And so I had a friend who said, oh, there's this really amazing massage therapist who will do a full body massage. And it's like therapeutic. It's not just a massage. She was like a healer of sorts. And when I was leaving, she said, hey, just so you know, you have a lump on your neck. And
Wow.
like, I was like, it's fine. And postpartum, it's probably something hormonal. I'm not worried about it. And she's like, okay, well, just heads up, it's there. You might want to get it checked out. So I went to a hospital in Playa del Carmen, Mexico. They did an ultrasound, and no one there spoke English. No one, and I don't speak enough Spanish to understand medical terminology. But essentially, they were like trying to get me in to do a biopsy. And I was like, no, like I really was like, it's just something hormonal. Well, 4 months later, I still wasn't feeling well. The lump on my neck was getting bigger. And I was
Wow.
like, Ross, I think we should go back home to Austin. I think we just need to like stop traveling. We have this new baby, like take a beat and take a breath. So when we got back to Austin, I did an ultrasound again, because now I'm watching this lump on my neck get
But you
bigger.
had no clue. You didn't guess any. I mean, no clue.
No,
No, just like a lump.
just a lump. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
There was no universe where I was thinking I was concerned about cancer or anything like that. So I get an ultrasound when I get back to Austin, and then that's when I get the report. And it's like, if you get an ultrasound report, it's like, it's red. Like it could be lymphoma. It could be all of these things. And thyroid cancer was one of the things. And so at that point, they sent me to a thyroid specialist. And she did an ultrasound, and she looked at me for 30 seconds, maybe 15 seconds. And she was like, yeah, this looks like papillary thyroid cancer. It's metastatic. It's already spread to your lymph nodes.
Wow.
You need the intervention, surgery, radiation treatment. And my son was 8 months old at the time. And
Were you breastfeeding?
Yeah, I was breastfeeding, and I didn't know what that meant for my future as a mother at that point.
And for my Swedish listeners, again, thyroid is bukspottkörtel. That's really hard to say for you. Bukspottkörtel. That's thyroid. It produces enzymes, and as well as the super important hormone insulin to regulate the blood sugar. So, I mean, everything is important in the body, but that's the thyroid. So, were you? Do you want to try to say bukspottkörtel?
All right, walk me through each one. Books,
Buk,
book,
spots,
spots,
körtel.
körtel.
Yeah, bukspottkörtel.
Bukspottkörtel.
There you go. That's the thyroid. So, so were you by yourself going to the doctor's appointment, or was Ross and Cruz with you at the time when you got the results? Or like, what was your first reaction? Where were you? What happened? Like, walk me through this.
So Cruz was at home with my mom. No. My mom hadn't come down yet because we didn't know. So he was at home with a babysitter, I guess. I don't even know. He was with someone, but Ross was at the appointment with me. So we were at the thyroid specialist's office in North Austin. It was really cold and rainy. And my first reaction was shock. I started crying, and I didn't know if there was going to be a world where I saw my son grow up, this little baby that I loved so much. And I was heartbroken and devastated. At that point, she said, we still need to do a biopsy. And I was like, she said, we need to do a biopsy so we can, get the lab information. So she did the biopsy. Ross and I went home. And then it was 2 days later that she called me and confirmed all of the information. The interesting thing at that point was that when she called me, There was the fear, the devastation, the overwhelm, the will I be around to see my son grow up? And then 5 minutes later, there was this surge of energy through my body. And I define it as God. I define it as the lion mama bear energy of like, this won't be my story. I will tell the story of victory. I will tell a story of healing. And I'm going to be here to tell my son about how his mom, took this into her own hands and healed herself. And that was the energy that I carried with me all the way through to today. I mean, that moment where it was like, will I be here to see my son grow up? Oh, yes, you will. And you are going to make this happen, with the good Lord and your husband by your side and beautiful people. But I was like, that mama bear energy was just like, you're going to heal and you're going to have a story to tell because of it. So that happened the day she called me and told me like the confirmation of the diagnosis.
Oh my God, I'm getting goosebumps everywhere. It's like a sign from, I don't know, or just, wow, it's amazing. It's amazing that you had this strong calling. And now we're here, super healthy.
Yeah.
So what was the plan from the doctors versus the plan that you had, like treatment-wise? Because somehow you had to remove this little bump.
Yes. So the doctor at that point said, you don't have time. We need to get you in next week. Immediate surgery, remove your thyroid, 30 lymph nodes from your neck, radiation treatment, hormone replacement the rest of your life. And the interesting thing was I didn't have insurance because we were self-employed. We were like making enough to get by and live our freedom lifestyle, but we didn't have insurance. And so I had enough insight to say it was November. It was the beginning of November, 2019. And in that moment, I had enough insight to say, I don't have insurance. I need to wait until January 1st until I can apply for insurance and move forward with your plan. Because what many people may have experienced is that when the doctors, especially in cancer, have a plan for you, they don't back down. They're on you, like, get into surgery. You don't have time. It's like very fear and rushed, and you need to make immediate decisions. But the fact that I didn't have insurance was the saving grace because it bought me like 8 weeks, 7 weeks, essentially. And there was nothing she could really do because financially, I needed to have the insurance. So she said, okay, call me back January 2nd, and we're going to get this going. So if I was to pay out of pocket for that in the United States, you're talking about hundreds of thousands of dollars. So I remember I called my mom, my husband and I were sitting on the couch, and I go, we have 7 weeks to give it everything we've got. Like, let's go. So that was the window that I got to kind of start exploring integrative cancer therapies. And my mom flew down from New York, and we essentially just started. I went on my Instagram page. I think I had like maybe a community of 9,000 people at that point, but I'd been talking about some health things and said, I was just diagnosed with thyroid cancer. Who has resources? What do we know? What tools can help? What practitioners? We started Googling, we started calling people, and we started learning about hyperbaric oxygen chambers and raw organic cold pressed juice and red light therapy and high dose vitamin C. And so I just was like, if it can help me, here we go. And I started driving around Austin every day, doing all of these therapies. So I just kind of put my foot on the gas and started moving, essentially. But what happened was I sort of burnt out on that because it was a lot of driving and moving, and I had my baby and we were still trying to work. And it was a couple weeks into doing all of these therapies and driving around town that my mom's friend called and said, I was diagnosed with breast cancer. I went to a clinic, an integrative cancer clinic, and now I am breast cancer free. And so I learned that there were these clinics that you could go to that had all the therapies that I was driving around town doing in one place with one practitioner overseeing your care. And that was when I just made the decision to go to my first integrative cancer clinic down in Florida.
Is that the Hope for Cancer one?
No. So Hope for Cancer, I went to the following summer.
Okay.
I had a good experience at the Florida clinic, but the doctor was not very kind. He made me cry several times. Like I would ask questions and he made me feel belittled and I don't know. It just I didn't like him. What happened was I stayed at that clinic for 6 weeks. And when I got home, I got an ultrasound and I asked them to look at it. And they said, "You're no longer a patient here. If you want us to look at the ultrasound, you need to come back for another week at $7,000 a week." And I was like, okay, I already didn't align with the doctor. They're not going to be my ongoing healing home. Like I need someone who's going to really monitor this and care for me. And it was then that I learned about Hope for Cancer. So that's why I call Hope for Cancer my healing home, because it's where I've returned for the past 5 years at this point.
I'm going to say wow every 2 minutes in this podcast, I think, because it's really wow. You were so young. You had a child. I mean, you didn't have like extraordinary symptoms. I mean, because you just had a baby and everything that you go through after a pregnancy and delivery and everything. I mean, you're super tired. So you didn't have really, I mean, correct me if I'm wrong, you didn't have any extraordinary symptoms. I mean, it's normal to lose your hair when you breastfeed and all of these things. And it sounds like it was a full-time job just trying to find all of these clinics. And so what happened in Hope for Cancer, and what did you learn there? What happened there? What was the treatment? And how did that differ from Florida?
Well, before I go to Hope for Cancer, there's actually one important part about the clinic in Florida. The reason that I went so aggressive in my healing, in like really finding the root cause, was because I'd been a health coach, and I knew the statistics were that over 50% of cancer patients have reoccurrences. And I was 33. I had an 8-month-old son, and I was like, I'm going to deal with this, and this is going to be the end of the cancer road for me. It's going to be one and done. I'm not going to be a statistic. And so that was really my motivation to get to the root cause. So at the Florida clinic, the greatest gift that I got at the Florida clinic was the doctor there sent me to a biological dentist. And the biological dentist I did something called a 3D cone beam scan. And they essentially get a picture of your entire mouth. And my mouth was black with infection.
Wow.
Freshman year of college, I fell. I knocked out my 2 front teeth and I broke a bone in my mouth.
Mm-hmm.
And that had been at 10 years prior to the diagnosis. And all that decade, then an infection from the root canals and the titanium implant that I had was growing in my mouth. Mm-hmm. And the biological dentist said that he'd never seen a infection so bad in his career. And so at that point, that was when my doctor spoke about the connections between root canals, dental infections, and cancers of the head and neck. So we understand that the root cause of the cancer diagnosis was the dental work and the dental infections.
Oh.
And so while those 6 weeks that I was in Florida, I had 3 different surgeries to remove the root canal treated teeth, the titanium implants. And then there's something called cavitations, where your wisdom teeth are taken out and there's a socket where infection can grow. And all 4 of my wisdom teeth had been, had infection as well. Right. So for 10 years, I had the drip of this infection in my mouth. And what we know is that the mouth is connected to the rest of the body. It's systemic. It was a systemic infection, and that was the root cause. So now I have a bridge. I have a permanent bridge from here to here.
Yeah, beautiful teeth, by the way.
Thank you. They were very expensive.
Kind of like Whitney Houston or something.
Yes, exactly. And so I now have a bridge because I had 3 different surgeries to remove the
Yeah.
infection. So what was so powerful about the time in Florida was that I essentially say now the faucet that had that leak of infection was finally turned off after 10
Mm.
years. So once I got to Hope for Cancer, I was able to really do the deep cellular healing and clear out parasites and clear out infections and just really reset my physiology. I went to Hope for Cancer for 3 weeks, and what we did in a day at the clinic at Hope for Cancer was what we did in like 4 days at the clinic in Mexico. So you go from 7 a.m. to 3 p.m. 6 days a week, infrared, a sauna, heat therapy, light therapy, colonics, coffee enemas, emotional healing. You have a doctor who sits beside you and looks in your eyes and follows your case. I mean, it's a place of hope. It really is a place of hope and a place of healing. And I've gone back there every 6 months for the last 5 years to maintain my health and my vitality since being cancer free. At Hope for Cancer, I had an 80% reduction in the amount of cancer in my body. So they essentially said, we can keep monitoring you. We can just keep monitoring you and stay as you are. And at that point, I had no conventional interventions, no surgery, nothing. This was all nutrition, lifestyle, and detoxification up until that point. I did end up having surgery at some point, and I can go there, but I just want to make sure I don't just leap ahead in the story.
Yeah, but also I want to like clear it to the listeners, like this clinic is not the Florida clinic or Hope for Cancer is not like a voodoo thing that you're dancing around in the moonlight. It's like it's a serious clinic, but instead of using drugs, you're using what you say, like natural medicine. Like you get, for example, extreme high doses of vitamin C, which is normally, not, correct me if I'm wrong here, normally like vitamin C is an antioxidant, which keeps the cells happy. So you're actually feeding the cells. But usually, normally you don't want to take supplements during cancer treatment, right? But when you get like a huge amount of vitamin C, it does the opposite. It actually removes the cancer cells and boosts the healthy cells. Or, just correct me if I'm wrong here, I'm not really something like that.
Right. So vitamin C is an antioxidant, which means that it helps reverse oxidative stress, which is cellular damage in the body, which contributes to disease and aging at oral doses, at doses that you're orally with a capsule. But when vitamin C is taken in really high doses, it becomes an oxidant, but specifically for cancer cells.
Exactly.
So it literally goes and attacks and kills cancer cells. So we're getting IVs of vitamin at the clinic. And really, the clinic relies on nature, heat, light, micronutrients, phytonutrients. Now, there are cases where some people would bring in like low dose chemotherapy and other more conventional treatments, but they're pairing it with all of these things that deeply support the immune system. Because what conventional cancer treatments, chemo, radiation, surgery do is they kill cancer cells, but they also kill healthy cells.
Exactly.
So you're
it's the problem.
regulating the immune system. So what an integrative cancer clinic like Hope for Cancer does is says, let's boost up the immune system. Let's take out whatever the parasite, the infection, whatever the disease. Let's get the body clear of that so the body can do what it innately knows how to do, which is heal. We're born to be self-mechanisms. So it's, and I will say that 90% of the people who go to Hope for Cancer are stage 4. A lot of them have gone to conventional treatments. They believed that was the way and the only way. Then their doctor tells them, I'm sorry, there's nothing else we can do for you. Go home and wait to pass on. And that's when they say, okay, I'm ready for another way. And, my prayer and my hope and the reason that I got so vocal about this was like, don't wait until then, all of these things that I was learning, nutrition, detoxification, red light, sauna, all these things, we can use them in our day-to-day life. So instead of fixing a problem, let's focus on prevention. And that's where I got so vocal about my experience and my healing journey.
Det finns inget som det babblas så mycket om bland mig och mina väninnor som kvinnohälsa, hormonobalans och klimakteriet på olika sätt. Ja, och så relationer också förstås. Men hur våra kroppar förändras och hur många som inte känner igen sig själva längre. Hur vi jämför våra olika symptom som kan vara väldigt olika från kvinna till kvinna. Vilken hjälp som finns att få och vart man kan vända sig. Frågorna är många och svaren är förvirrande. Jag är så tacksam över att företaget Hormonology har valt att ingå i partnerskap med podden Rise and Shine. Ett företag som stöttar och vägleder alla kvinnor som känner sig lite vilsna i sina egna kroppar när hormonerna hamnar i obalans. Där Hormonology stöttar i form av egenvård både med produkter, information och utbildning. Gå in på hormonology.se och scrolla runt du också. Going back to your tooth surgery, I'm guessing they're still doing these kind of surgeries, even though because I know one other person told me this. She had cancer, a friend of mine in Mallorca. She figured out this thing as well. She had cancer and they figured this thing out and she took removed whatever was in there. And that was the first time I heard about it. But still, they do these kind of surgeries every day. Mm-hmm. How is it possible? I know you can't answer this. I'm just still like, how is it possible?
Yeah, well, there's some conventional dentists who believe that my story isn't real, or the other thousands and thousands of stories aren't real. They just don't want to look at it because they've been doing things a certain way for so long. It would flip the entire profession upside down. I've had dentists be like, this is false. And then I have conventional dentists who are now biological dentists who say, I no longer can, in my right mind, do root canal treatments on people, knowing that at the end of the day, all root canal treated teeth are infected. And so I get to hear from those doctors too, who were educated in the conventional way, and they saw enough patients and enough problems that now they do dentistry in a different way. So there's no denying the correlation and the connection.
I'm going to say it again. Wow. Okay, so food-wise, what were the biggest changes that you had to do? Like, what did you have to remove and what did you add?
Yeah. So at the beginning of my healing journey, I removed pretty much everything. Yeah. I did
stuck with a carrot.
Yes, exactly. I was like, okay, I can eat lettuce. I did a raw vegan diet for a year that focused on 64 ounces of raw organic cold pressed juice every single day. So my mom and I would get up in the morning and we would spend an hour making my half-gallon juice for the day. And that, I mean, really, you're talking about maybe 12 pounds of produce, nutrients that I would condense down into that juice. So that was that was very nutrient dense, right? And then outside of that, I would do 2 really big salads, like sprouts. I would do carrots and tomatoes and cucumbers and olive oil and apple cider vinegar with garlic dressing, just like really, really simple food. But really for the first year, the cold pressed juice was the base of my nutrition. And that's kind of how my company Alchemy Juice came about, because I lived in Austin, a very health conscious city. I was spending an hour juicing every day. And there were a couple mornings that I couldn't get to juicing. And when I went to go buy it, it was not organic. It was in plastic bottles. Yeah. It was mostly all apple. And I was like, I need therapeutic juice, or raw, organic, cold pressed in glass. And no one was doing it. And so, I didn't have savings. This was all very expensive. No one gave me money. And so I was like, I need to bring in more money to pay for all these therapies. So we started this juice delivery business out of my kitchen to literally pay for the
The
therapies that I was
therapy.
doing. I didn't intend for it to become what it became. I just wanted to make about $1,500 a month to pay for my sauna and hyperbaric oxygen chamber therapy.
That is amazing, though. And you still have this business going. Now it's going really well. It's not out of your kitchen anymore.
No,
No.
no, it's not out of my kitchen anymore. We have 3 brick and mortar cafes. We ship nationwide around the United States.
Really?
It's a 7-figure business, and we get to serve and support a lot of people, which is a really big blessing. And every time we come across a roadblock in that business, a door opens, like roadblock, door opens. It's alchemy was meant to be. It was meant to be born. It's not mine. It is literally a service to our community. So, yeah, it was one of the gifts that came out of that journey.
I'm guessing you must have thousands of people texting you, sending you messages like, wow, how can how can you help?
Yeah.
Where should they call? Where should they email? How can they get help?
Yeah. Mhm.
No, go.
Yeah, when I was at Hope for Cancer. So when I went to Hope for Cancer, I was there for 3 weeks. And I thought, and this was happening, thousands of messages. How do I get these supplements? What do I do? What should I eat? What do I take? And I thought, there's no way I can get to all of these. So I created, while I was at the clinic, I created a course called the Daily Detox. And it focuses on, it's an 8-week course, and each week focuses on a different aspect of healing: hydration, juicing, nutrition, coffee enemas, supplementation, lymphatic drainage, and castor oil packs. Those were I was like, if I could support people with just a handful of things, those would be, that would be it. So that's one course that I have available on my website, carlybrownwellness.com. But really, my Instagram page is a free resource where I teach everything I'm doing. Now, granted, I'm 20 weeks pregnant right now, so my routine and my flow is a little bit different because there's a lot of deep detox that I'm not doing. But normally I'm doing at least a focused hour of detoxification every single day. And even being pregnant, I'm focused on the water I drink, the food that I eat, how I move my body, how I breathe, how I sleep, like the free things that we can do in day-to-day life, which is still pretty robust. But that's why I made the daily detox, because there were so many questions and I thought, I have to get this information into people's hands. And it was like, I made it like $199. Like, it's anyone can access. So I just wanted people to get the information.
But when you say this, it sounds so easy and natural, and like back to nature, boosting the body instead of killing the body. So I'm guessing you have a lot of questions from traditional doctors, but that's another story. You're also saying on your Instagram that your body didn't only fight cancer, it was also fighting unaddressed pain, stress, and imbalances. Could you walk us through this?
Mm-hmm. So, a big part of the cancer healing journey is not just dealing with the physical body, but also dealing with the emotional body. And sometimes there are these experiences that we have in life that can be traumatic, someone passing away or betrayal or something like that gets stuck emotionally in the body. And one thing I learned is that each gland and organ has a different emotion connected to it.
Mm-hmm.
And one of the things for the thyroid is expression, and not being able to speak your truth and not being able to share your authentic self. And it's one of the reasons that I'm so vocal now about who I am and what I believe in and what I stand for, because my entire life leading up to the diagnosis at 33, I wasn't doing that. People are like, have you always been like this? And I'm like, no, but mine was energetically expression of self and owning of self. So another example would be exactly 1 year before the diagnosis, my dad suddenly passed away. Literally had an aortic aneurysm at my kitchen table at my parents' house. he was fine 1 minute, gone the next minute. My mom called me and said, Dad just passed away. And I don't know that I ever dealt with that. Of course, I felt the sadness and I cried, but then I was like, okay, life goes on. Let's keep going. And I never allowed myself the time and the space and the quiet and the solitude of really being with that pain and that loss. And these traumas get stuck in our body, and that's another way that disease proliferates. So really allowing myself to deal with those hurts, those pains, to greet them, to talk about them, to journal, to talk to my family about them. I don't hold things in anymore. I say, hey, Ross, or mom, or sibling, or friend, can we talk? Can we work through this together? Because I don't want that energy held in my body. And most people are holding on to energetic traumas. The other thing was that at the clinic, they put every patient on a parasite cleanse. They say, if you have cancer, non-negotiable, you have a parasite infection. And I passed parasites for 6 months. 6 months on doing a parasite cleanse paired with coffee enemas. I was passing parasites. And so these are things that we don't necessarily think of until there's a diagnosis of like, what if we dealt with the emotional traumas before a diagnosis? What if we went on a parasite cleanse once a year just as part of our maintenance program? So there's so much more to wellness than just exercise and eating well. That really discovered on this journey.
What does a parasite cleanse look like?
So you take certain herbs. Herbs and binders bind to toxins and parasites. So one of the herbs will kill them. The other the binder will bind to them. And then you would need to do coffee enemas and have bowel movements to evacuate them. So it's essentially a supplement protocol that you do. It's not like you're running to the bathroom. It's just you take the supplements throughout the day. You go on with your life. But it's a supplement protocol. I use a company called Cellcore. And they have a really amazing line of parasite protocols and even like heavy metal detoxes, gut cleanses, things that are going to address the body on a deeper level.
So interesting. I have a friend of mine. She's a functional medicine practitioner, and it's always so interesting to talk to her. I'm more into natural healing, boosting my body than taking medicine. So if from a helicopter perspective here, because I could ask you a million questions, so interesting, so amazing. And from a helicopter perspective, like what is the biggest life lesson that you're taking with you from this journey? Huge question.
I think that I know the answer. The biggest life lesson is that our darkest moments, the moments that we don't think we're ever going to survive, whether it's death or divorce or disease or loss, where we say, how am I going to come out of this? They end up being the greatest teachers.
Yeah.
And so what if in the moment we can say, this is hard, this is so tough, and I know this is here to serve me for a reason. I know that I live in a dualistic world where what goes down goes up and what goes up goes down. And so where am I in that dance, so that we don't get attached to the darkness of this is always going to be this way, but also we don't get attached to the light. Oh, it's all good. Everything's going to be fine forever. When it's good, yay, I'm so grateful it's good. And I know it's going to change. And when it's down, this is hard, but I know it's going to change. And so it's that duality and that dance of like, it's like a wave just coming and going without like, this is terrible, this is great, and defining ourselves in that way. That's been my great takeaway.
Time is already flying. I could talk for another couple of hours, but one question that we could do a part 2. I would love to hear your story after you given birth to your third son. So thank you. I will call you in another year again. So the one question that all of my guests get is, what does your morning routines look like?
Okay, so pre-pregnancy morning routine. I got up at 4:30 in the morning. because I'd like to get up and have at least 2 hours before my boys get up. I would get up, I would start the coffee enema. So I'd start boiling the water and go turn the sauna on. So I have an infrared sauna out in like my garage, which was a detox room. I would let the sauna heat up, do the coffee enema, and then do an ozone treatment. So ozone, rectal ozone. Yep,
What
it's
does
a
that
beautiful
mean?
thing.
Rectal,
It's
we know.
yes.
Ozone, we
So
know, but
ozone is a gas that
yeah,
kills bacteria, pathogens, and parasites.
yeah.
So I learned about it at Hope for Cancer, and I do 21 days on, 7 days off. So you kind of have like a rubber thing that you can insert and you get it out of an ozone generator. So I would do coffee enema followed by rectal ozone. I would then go into the sauna for 30 minutes to do red light therapy and sweat to detox. And then right after that, well, actually, nope. Before the sauna, I would do the rebounder. So a rebounder is like a mini trampoline that
Oh
you
yeah,
jump up
yeah, yeah.
on. And that was for lymphatic drainage. So I would
Exactly.
start doing lymphatic drainage. I'd do that 10 minutes before getting in the sauna. After the sauna, quick cold shower, get dressed. And then I normally would do some type of like prayer and meditation, just an emotional healing. I did invest in a hyperbaric oxygen chamber where you're breathing in pure oxygen for 60 minutes. So about 3 times a week, I would do that. And that was what I would do every single morning. Now that I'm pregnant, it's pretty much get up, feet on the floor, say a word of gratitude. I do like a clean, mold-free coffee with collagen and peppermint oil and raw milk. That's like my drink in the morning. And then I go either to CrossFit. I go to CrossFit 3 to 4 days a week, or I'll go for a long walk, come back, meditation, prayer, and then the boys are up. So it's just a very modified, like softer version of my day-to-day before.
You are pure inspiration. You're glowing, and it has been such a wonderful little chat. We are at the end, and unfortunately, we have your 5 incomplete sentences before I wrap everything up. So I begin the sentence, and you just end it really short.
Okay.
All right. If I were to talk to my 20-year-old me, I would say,
everything's going to be okay.
yeah, good advice.
Yeah.
Top 3 things on my bucket lists are
Oh my goodness, on my bucket list. I want to do an Airstream trip around the US I want to do a full US Airstream trip, essentially camping with stars every single night with my family as a whole. I want to do an RV trip around Australia with my family and do the Airstream RV around Australia. And I want to impact as many lives as possible. Like if I can, at the end of my life, cross that off to say, like, I lived a life of impact that touched other people, that would mean a lot to me.
I think you're already doing that.
Yeah. Thank you. Thank you.
In my 60s, I see myself
relaxed, calm, healthy, strong. You know, I'm turning 40 in three months. I'm turning 40 in 3 months. And I really think about how everything I'm doing now, from my fitness to my nutrition, my mindset, is going to pave the path for my 60s. So I want to be feeling exactly like this in my 60s.
Good for you. Okay. If I would have a chat about health with Robert Kennedy Jr., the new Secretary of the U.S. Department of Health and Human Services, I would tell him to
speak loud and proud about vaccinations for children, which he's doing. So I love that. I'm very, very grateful for his voice around childhood vaccinations and a modified or different perspective on how to look at it.
It seems like he's a little bit more into natural health than the conventional. Yeah, I like that.
We're many of us are very, very grateful for that. Very grateful.
Okay, my favorite food, all-time high, is, of course,
pizza. I'm a New Yorker. I'm a New Yorker through and through. Pizza
A New
is my
Yorker. I guess they didn't serve you pizza in hope for
no.
cancer. No.
I
Okay,
get a pizza.
pizza it is. But do you eat like conventional food anytime nowadays, or is it only juicing, super healthy?
So my day to day at home is
Yeah.
organic, whole foods. I'm cooking my meals, drinking my juice. I'm not juicing it myself. I get it from Alchemy, which is around the corner from my house. But then I'll go out maybe once a month. We go to dinner, meet friends, and I'll eat out at a restaurant. And I enjoy
Yeah.
the process. So I'm not, whereas in the height of my healing, never. And now I let myself enjoy things as a social, like
Hmm.
during social time.
Hmm. Good for you.
Mhm.
Okay, so this is time for me to wrap today's talk up just for a minute or so you can just relax and listen.
Okay.
My thoughts about health has always been that if you support your body in the best possible way, it can heal itself. But still, sometimes we are unfortunate. I haven't experienced what you have, and I'm not really sure how I would approach it. My mother is currently fighting ovarian cancer, and she's going through the all traditional way. Then the natural way for me would probably be similar to your healing process. But as for now, every day and for the rest of my life, I'm trying to take care of my health in the best possible holistic way that I can. This is not at all comparative to cancer, but I was not really in my best shape last year. I was going through a burnout, so I wasn't working for almost all of 2024. But my point is, it's not until you hit a wall of some kind that you really start taking care of yourself even more. I have been very cautious about my health my whole life, but apparently no one is immune. I'm so grateful that you wanted to share your story. So I'm sending you love and healing all the way from Stockholm, Sweden to Austin, Texas. And with that said, let's send physical, mental, spiritual, and emotional healing throughout the world. The planet and the people needs lots of love and healing.
Wonderful. Thank you so much for having me. I appreciate it.
Thank you so much. It's been such a pleasure. And now, thank you, Carly, for all my followers and listeners. Where can we find you if you want to continue to follow your story and your life?
Yeah. So I spend the most time on Instagram at Carly Loves Kale. And also my website, carlybrownwellness.com, has retreats that I do. I do women's wellness retreats. The daily detox program and any other offerings that I have are going to be found there.
Love that. We didn't talk about that, but you're also a yoga teacher, of course. I love the Instagram name, by the way. So follow Carly on Instagram, Carly Loves Kale, or her website, carlybrownwellness.com. Follow me on ShapebyShirin to follow my life. And don't forget to follow my lovely sponsor, hormonology.se. All you sweet listeners out there, thank you for taking your time and staying with us during this important and inspiring hour. Share Carly's story with your loved ones. Subscribe to the podcast. I release a new episode every Tuesday. Take care. Until next time, love and light. Bye, Carly.
Bye.